The Death of Antagonis, written by David Annandale, is a work of science fiction taking place in the Warhammer 40,000 universe and published by the Black Library. It follows the second company of the Black Dragon Space Marine chapter on their final days of the Crusade of Antagonis, as well as the months afterward. The chapter was originally drawn to Antagonis after a reported zombie plague had broken out, though this was quickly deferred to be a demonic possession known as Doubtworm, which ends up consuming the planetary population and thus renders the planet in need of what is known as Exterminatus, which is essentially nuke the entire thing from orbit and hopefully try to rebuild in a couple of centuries. Now, our main character, Volus, is what the chapter has named a Dragonclaw. They suffer a genetic mutation in the chapter's augmentation process, which causes bone spikes to erupt from their arms, as well as horns from their head, as darked out eyes, as well as a rather dark complexion and rather rough skin, giving the effect of scales. These Marines are given jump packs and are essentially told, "There's that guy, go kill him." And they do, rather effectively, using their bones that are coming out of their arms. Our other main Marine character comes in the form of Toharin. Rather untouched by the chapter's genetic curse, he's seen as a pretty face, so to speak, and eventually erupts into something of a problematic character for Volus. As the chapter sees the curse as a blessing, though he and his disciples, so to speak, see it as something that needs to be purged and completely removed. We also see influences from the Inquisition in the form of Inquisitor Lettinger, a rather wily individual who sides with Toharin on the chapter's need of being purified of the curse. It's also seen in the presence of Canoness Sathena, who sides with Volos, and that the chapter is a necessary evil needed to show the Imperial citizens that they need to both respect and fear the Imperium as a whole, lest they be destroyed as the other enemies of man. She is a member of what was formerly known as a Sisters of Battle convent, though that has since been destroyed, with her being the sole survivor, and she has taken a rather cold and clear worldview, so to speak, where she sees any necessary evil as being simply a means to an end, that end being humanity must move on. Now, the book itself was actually very well written, in my opinion, as it features very, very quickly paced, yet very well done combative scenes on the Space Marines' part, as they're a very brutal fighting force. And during the more relaxed moments, it holds a good tension for when the next fight might break out, and really keeps you kind of in and reading. Yeah. Now, I do have one complaint about the book, and that is Inquisitor Lettinger being a traitor is something of, well, predictable. It's pretty often that Inquisitors in Warhammer 40,000 books do end up betraying the Imperium for chaotic influence in one means or another, though his was kind of a, oh yeah, Inquisitor, he's going to be, he's going to say screw it. And Satheno is actually was a character I had actually assumed to be cannon fodder, though she actually proved to be a very important role, which was actually very well written in my opinion. Now, moving on, one line in the book that I think actually does kind of lend itself to the character of the Space Marines is when Volus tells a Thunderhawk pilot, "We're Space Marines, we don't do subtle," shortly before sending a Cyclone missile onto a large dome structure and assaulting it with fire. Yeah, they have flamethrowers in the far future, it's a long story. And to wrap it, though, another complaint about the book is it's written more for an extremely versed Warhammer 40,000 fan in that it doesn't explain things as they are. One book that actually is written for people who are a bit newer to the series is Caiaphas Cain, Hero of the Imperium, which is written as a set of memoirs and is annotated, so to speak, by another character, which helps explain certain things in a way. So the Death of Antagonis is written for the versed, Caiaphas Cain is written for those who are not so much, which lends itself to each book, as Cain is a bit more of a silly book in a lot of ways, while this is a much more seriously written novel set in the universe. Overall, I would recommend this to a friend who is familiar with the series and knows some of what it's talking about, though I would not recommend this to a first-time reader as far as Warhammer 40,000.